Next speaker is Noor, joining us from Kuwait in the Middle East. And it might be a very early in the morning, but he is ready to give us and share his dark side. Let's hear from him. Noor, pandemic box, Noor.
Fellow Toastmasters, dear guests, a very good morning to you all. The title of my speech is Pandemic Box. Now, how many of you know about Pandemic Box? Please raise your hands. How many of you know about Pandora's Box? Please raise your hands. So, all of you know what Pandora Box is, right? So, a Pandora Box is an artifact which is related to Greek mythology, related to the myth of Pandora. Pandora was living with her husband, and she was very curious about a container which the husband was keeping. So she opened the container and she inflicted the whole mankind with physical and emotional distress. Now, today we are talking about the mental health of people all around the world because we are all affected with this pandemic. Now, what is mental health? All of us have spoken about mental health, but what is actually mental health? Now, mental health, according to the World Health Organization, is defined as the state of well-being. You feel a sense of well-being and you realize your own abilities in that state of well-being. And while you cope with the normal stress of life and wherein you work productively and contribute to the society. This is the definition of mental health. Now, if you are not in a state of well being, if you don't realize your abilities, you are burdened with immense stress, you're not able to work productively, or you're not able to contribute to the society, you are suffering from a serious problem with your mental health. Now, let me tell you about things which I have seen in pandemic. Now, Kuwait is a small Middle Eastern country, and the population is around 3 million. And majority of the population here are expatriates. Expatriates are those who are coming from different countries to work in Kuwait. Why they come to Kuwait is because of the money. The Kuwaiti dinar is 3 or 4 US dollars almost. So what happened is people have this sense of pride that they are well off. And when the pandemic hit, they lost their jobs. They didn't have money to buy the basic groceries. And because of that pride, they couldn't go out and ask for help. And this was a very sad state of affairs. When we saw people out of their pride, they could not come out and seek help. So what we organized is we organized, from the embassy here, so several different embassies, American embassy, British embassy, the Singapore embassy, and we had Malaysian embassy also doing a lot of distribution of groceries for those who cannot tell that they need help. They can call anonymously and they can get their groceries delivered at their home. Now, there was also people who lost a lot of their relatives, their family members, and the grief was intolerable. I have personally seen so many people losing their loved ones, and they went into a state of inconsolable depression. And that is something which we haven't seen in generations. Losing a family, like whole of the family is lost, a majority, and you are the only one left. It feels like as if you have lost everything in your life. And that's a serious state of matter. And that affects your mental health in a very profound way. And your whole outlook of life is changed with that attitude. And there were increase in suicides, number of suicides and divorces. As husband and wife, we live normal lives during non-pandemic days. So we get up in the morning, the husband is going to the office, or the wife also goes to the office, and the amount of interaction is very little. And that also, it's all in a hush, hush, a rush, rush. And, you don't get to know each other. And what happened during this pandemic, you are forced to stay inside the house, and you are forced to look at a person in front of you whom you have been living for past 20-25 years, and you don't know a damn about that person. It gives shivers to the people who are married, believe me. Why? Because you have never spent time enough to know the person, and that caused a lot of divorce in at least in Kuwait. I have seen a lot of people got divorced. Why? Because they were unable to bear their partner. Could you imagine? Couples who were married for 20 years got divorced. It's very sad, very sad. And the burnout and the chronic stress, as someone said, there is no boundaries to your work. Like work from home, like it's like 24 hours work. There is no limit to your work. So you have to draw boundaries. If you don't draw boundaries, then you're lost. And also, we are social beings. We want to interact with people. If we don't interact with people, we are lost. All right. So the pandemic, what it did is it brought a kind of social isolation. And this social isolation put a lot of stress on the mental health of so many people. And you might ask the frontline workers how difficult it was for them to deal with such cases, not just only the cases of the coronavirus, but also the people who were suffering from severe depression. And this was a major thing, because I know a lot of frontline workers who have dealt with this. So, my dear friends, I would say only one thing, that be thankful that the pandemic is almost over, because the kind of stress it put on our mental health is immense. 85% of the adults and the young adults who have participated in a large survey conducted by the World Health Organization have experienced mental distress and have sought mental help. This is alarming. Believe me, it's something that we haven't witnessed at all in the recent past or even in the last 100 years. So be thankful, be kind, be generous, uh, be loving, and be compassionate. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Noor. Stop recording.